I like the way the guy films it. He pulls back and you can kind of see landscape. This thing's pretty large and we don't know what it is. Very strange stuff, to say the least. Yeah, this is kind of freaking me out, Brent. I don't know whether I should name this video tonight BIZZARIO, because right now I'm saying this is very strange indeed, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in this live premiere and give us a big thumbs up if you're enjoying the UFO content. Now, just recently we had our panel member, Dark Hour Paranormal, Michael Roser. He went over a couple of videos in the Third Phase of Moon archive and he delved into it quite deeply, including a ghost hunt. Take a look at this special presentation. Buckle up, everybody.
Good evening and welcome to Third Phase UFO Report. I am your host, Michael Roser, and this evening we will revisit some curious sightings that have been captured within the last few years, never allowing the light of Inquisition to extinguish on these phenomenal occurrences. So grab your favorite snack and sit back, buckle up, and get ready for a journey into the forbidden knowledge that is so desperately our right to obtain. Thank you all for joining us, and without hesitation, let's jump right into the first sighting.
Right now, let's just go to Palm Springs, California and watch this.
There are quite a few reasons I like this video and think it holds certain validity. To begin, the footage never cuts until the craft is behind the hill, well out of view. So many times we're limited to what we witness in a sighting simply because the person filming doesn't take enough footage or ends the film prematurely. In this submission, we see the entire trajectory of this craft in flight until the moment it seems to land. I have to mention too, the camera person's steady hand, especially while driving. Another aspect of this video that piques my curiosity is the fact that the object is always in proportion, regardless of how close or how far away from the camera it is. Everything in the surrounding scenery is benign yet significant in estimating the size of the craft and answering questions of whether or not the craft is actually in the environment. In this case, with the ambient light dancing off objects in frame uniformly, I surmise this is a real craft and not anything within the realm of CGI. In addition, the sluggish speed at which this object moves allows us a pretty concise view of what it is without allowing us to come to any solid conclusion. As Blake and Brent mentioned, there aren't many filmed sightings with the clarity the submitter has provided us. Let's hear what Third Phase of Moon had to say.
All right, we're looking at the video a little closer and I'm adding some brightness and contrast to make whatever this object pop and get a closer look. Right now, I'm going to give you some testimony and background behind this. I want to thank the Hidden Underbelly 2.0 for allowing us to get permission from the person who shot it, and his YouTube channel is up right now running this uncut video. It's coming in from Anon Dimensional. Again, all the links are going to be below in the description. You're going to see tonight so much coming in. Wait a second, did you see that? Let's take a look at that one part again. There's something that comes out right out of this object, or what is going on here? I'm repeating it. It's interesting. All kinds of anomalous objects appearing out of and around this object.
Indeed, this quick flittering light is anomalous, but it also may be explained by a reflection on the windshield or within the camera lens itself. Outside of that thought, the scintillating flicker does seem to emanate from the craft. A very strange observation, and not one that is repeated anywhere else on this video.
Back to the eyewitness statement, he states that he was always wondering why, with modern technology, we get all these horrible recordings of UFOs until today, when he witnessed it on his own. He says sorry for the quality as he's driving at high speed, but he said he was en route on his way to work, and he says he's seen strange clouds in the skies in that area, but not one like this. Again, Southern California on Highway 62, right outside of Palm Springs, around 8:29 in the morning. So again, we're watching this video very closely.
Another thought I had reviewing this footage is perhaps this is some sort of weather instrumentation, wherein they extend the object on a tether to a certain height, gathering atmospheric data in the process. Maybe they are slowly reeling this in as we see it in the video, but no visible string or line is there. It is possible we are too far away, but for an object that size, I would assume one would need some heavy tethering to smoothly return it to ground.
And again, the object's pretty big, and we've got so much videos. I want to get your guys' comments on what this is, but you can see it making approach, and it's avoiding the windmills. It seems that it wasn't a very windy day today, but again, look at this as we're getting closer. Is it a blimp? We're not seeing any undercarriage or a cabin. Some of these windmills, they're like up to 150 feet, 200 feet. So we have some kind of dimension. I'd have to say whatever this object is at least 50 to 100 feet in length. Look at as it goes behind the mountain. This is the last we see of it in the video. Wow.
Certainly an interesting sighting. And again, I really appreciate the clarity in which the video presents this anomalous object. All right, let's move on to the next sighting. This is a very curious bit of footage. This object is quite clearly some distance away, and yet we can make out what appears to be a saucer-like shape, once again reminiscent of Bob Lazar's sports model, soundlessly drifting along. One thing that stands out to me is the presence of personal antennas and power lines where this craft is being spotted. Many years ago, I came across a theory suggesting certain UFOs may actually be drawing energy or recharging in some way while taking a spell over a power grid. Is it possible this is what we are witnessing in this video? My first UFO sighting was directly over a grouping of power lines, and I have often wondered the significance, if there is any.
All right, we're looking at this video again, but what's interesting is, again, we hear these dogs, animals, they react to these anomalous objects, UFOs, flying saucers, and this is a broad daylight sighting. Yeah, the video is a little shaky, but there are moments when you get a good look at whatever this dish-shaped object is, and I would have to rule out any kind of drone activity. We're not seeing any prop propeller blades whatsoever. Captured in Mexico. A lot of people said that they've witnessed this object. We're waiting here, right here at Third Phase Moon, to receive those videos. This was shot 2 days ago, and I'm having a feeling we're going to see more like kind from the area in Mexico.
This is a spectacular daytime sighting, and given the hints and deductions we've collected throughout the years of research, I wouldn't doubt that this is one of our own vessels, simply back-engineered from something gathered through reconnaissance. With this in mind, if any of what we see but can't explain in our skies does belong to us, it's only rational to assume they would have to keep these enormous craft underground in order to keep from the public's prying eyes. Even a group of hangars would be suspect to those browsing Google Earth. So where are these vessels being housed?
I'm looking at this. He's struggling. He's trying to get a good shot. And let me tell you, it's not easy when you see a UFO for the first time. And again, I got to appreciate his effort. I like this part the most. He gets a really good close-up look at it.
We can see some sort of undercarriage present, and again, perhaps this is reflective of the saucer-like structure. Either way, this is yet another anomalous object that was witnessed and captured in our skies, as the phenomenon can be observed throughout the world. Let's move on to the next sighting.
There it is. I don't know, I zoomed in on it.
So it looks like it's landing.
How's it landing? Where is it?
No, we
I'm
can
filming
see
it now. Yeah.
No, it's from here now.
It's getting too far away now.
Now, while this odd object doesn't seem to be moving much, we can certainly make out a rough shape. Strangely, it almost appears to be some sort of humanoid creature floating hundreds of feet above the ground. My first impression is that this may be a balloon, albeit a very curiously shaped inflatable. But there is something that keeps drawing my attention, and that is the two-dimensional element this object occasionally displays. It somewhat looks as if it's a cutout, and yet it's still airborne without the apparent aid of the environment. This sighting comes at a time where many people were witnessing what was eventually dubbed as jetpack entities, especially around LAX in Los Angeles. Even Rich Giordano of GoofOn has witnessed and filmed what appeared to be a jetpack man back in the mid-2000s. Could this be some entity in time and space limbo? Or something more rational in way of explanation?
The video was captured in Worthing, West Sussex by Garvell Loken. He says he absolutely loves the channel, and he said he filmed a UFO and he wanted to share it with us, and he doesn't know what he captured, but he wants us to share it with you to get your thoughts. What was going on? He said traveled overhead approximately about 20 miles an hour. He said he zoomed in. He said it looked like a tiny figure. He definitely claims that it isn't any kind of drone or anything. It didn't have any wings on it or any kind of prop propeller blades. Brent, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one's pretty cool, Blake. It stands out. Definitely, these are the submissions we like to see at Third Phase of Moon. Anything flying in the sky that we can't explain, well, this is one of them. It almost looks like a humanoid, Blake. People say we have flying humanoids that are captured on film. Well, this looks like one of them. What could it really be? Could it be a balloon? It sure doesn't look like it.
Because of the multitude of characteristics this object provides, it's difficult to come to any concrete resolution. Even with something that appears to have a quick explanation, we find time and time over that this is a rarity rather than the common occurrence. Stick around as I bring you on a journey into the world of specters and apparitions, right here on Third Phase UFO Report. Tonight, we will be looking into some enormous and ancient graveyards here in Massachusetts. These graveyards have a rich haunted history, conjuring visions of shadow people, spiritual watchers, and even apparitions of children, seemingly destined to play games with each other throughout eternity. Cemeteries are certainly an archetype for the paranormal world, and this is one major reason we continue to revisit these locations. So my first impression stepping into this graveyard, I feel a bit dizzy, certainly ungrounded, and tired, which is new. Maybe it's the energy being drained out of me. Maybe there's something going on in my auric field just walking through this place, but I feel drained. It's not the most pleasant experience, and couple that with being ungrounded and feeling the way I am in this space, it's certainly curious. And as an observation, this is my first thought upon entering Pine Grove Cemetery here in Spencer, Massachusetts. Many people throughout decades have witnessed some type of paranormal activity in Pine Grove Cemetery in Massachusetts. Wisped figures dart between headstones, moans can be heard from different quarters of the graveyard, and investigational enthusiasts have captured EVPs. As I was walking around filming, wouldn't you know I happened to capture yet another EVP? This time it sounds like the male voice is saying, "You snoozin'," but it's really difficult to determine. Again, I have no intention to interact with spirit on any level when entering such a location, but it seems they may be intrigued by my presence, thus coming to me rather than the other way around. I have yet to capture something addressing me personally, so maybe in these cases I'm picking up something more residual than sentient. As I approach the statue, or the monument dedicated to the deceased that apparently holds paranormal activity around here, I'm getting very nervous. Can't breathe steadily. My breathing is a little labored here, and I'm just overall feeling uncomfortable. Now, certainly we understand that this is one of the more purportedly haunted graveyards in Massachusetts. In fact, if you do a search, this one will certainly pop up again and again. So without further ado here, I'm going to show you this, and we're going to sit and hang out for a little while and see how things feel. Well, folks, this is it. As far as I can ascertain, this particular statue is the one that's mentioned most often when it comes to paranormal activity here in Spencer. Now, the curious thing about this statue, as you can see, it is certainly representative of an angel, and yet many people believe that it actually is the image of Jesus Christ. I would say there's a lot of symbolism that's encapsulated within this design, and it's something perhaps in the way of interpretation, or something more solid and lost to time in way of explanation and interpretation. One of the things that I will allow myself to do is when I start rolling, I'm not asking questions directly to whatever energy may be present here. In fact, I'm stepping back and I'm just putting the equipment out. If something comes to me in the way of EVPs or otherwise, as we've seen in some of the other shows that I've produced, well, that's what you guys will see and hear. But the point here is that I'm not out looking for it specifically, but I'm certainly open to feeling deeply in places like this. And of course, if something wants to come to me while I am in the location, and only at the location, that's okay as well. These anomalies are observed only one time through all the footage I record, and therefore I feel it appropriate to show them to you. There have been other sounds captured within the environment, but this is certainly normal and nothing to look into beyond identifying what was already present. Look how soft this peat is underneath me. I mean, God, I know what it is, but being in a graveyard sinking about 2 inches into the earth is a bit unsettling to say the least. One could easily spend hours, if not days, in this graveyard, researching the headstones and the history of those who are interred here. The human species is without question quite the morbid sort, but does this curiosity stem from our own interpretations of death? Or is there an intrigue on a higher level wherein we understand intuitively the physical is a temporary existence, and yet we are always left behind to contend with the ghastly remains? Now, one of the more curious points about this particular area is that within this graveyard, there is one particular entity they call the Watcher. Now, we've heard about this type of phenomenon in other areas, an entity that doesn't have anything specific to do with the ground that they're perhaps haunting or present in, but yet they're still there watching from afar. The curious thing about this particular place is that there's absolutely no interaction with the person who's viewing this entity and the entity itself. Many times this entity is seen dodging between trees, hiding behind gravestones, peeking out, and some have likened him to a shadow person because he dons some sort of periodic hat. My question is this: if you have a watcher that is responsible from the spiritual side, if you will, to watch over a place of rest like a graveyard, there are still vandals that come in and destroy things, so what is it protecting? What is this entity really watching? There is purportedly an ancient watcher spirit presiding over America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire, and this is where I had my first introduction to an entity of this nature. The enormity of their energy is staggering, and you really feel the immense power they possess. It's also curious that the forecast was supposed to be bright and sunny for the entire day, and all of a sudden, as soon as I get here and start talking about these phenomenons at large, it starts raining. Maybe coincidence, maybe something more in the way of synchronicity. Either way, we're going to keep going. Have you ever had the feeling that you might have spent too much time in one place or perhaps outstayed your welcome? Yeah, well, that came really quickly here. So it's time to move forward. Occasionally, I'll feel an intense pressure within these locations urging me in my interpretation to move on. Whether this is true or not in way of energy, I feel it nonetheless. This place is so unbelievably dense in way of gravestones, it's unreal. Directly behind me is the one purported monument in this graveyard that has activity, and a lot of that includes little children, apparitions, running around, playing with each other, running through the gravestones, and of course we have one particular entity who is deemed to be a woman, who is more in the shadow realm than anything, but you can find all of this here in Hope Cemetery in Worcester. Now, one of the curious things I find about this spot here as I'm standing is that I am getting lightheaded. I almost feel like I just took something illicit, in a sense, if you will, although I haven't. Just standing in this spot, I'm starting to feel completely out of balance, almost like I want to sit down. So I wasn't feeling like that a moment ago when I stepped out of my car, walking up to this particular area. So what does that mean? And is this something that can be repeated? If I tell you where this is exactly in the graveyard, can you come here as well and have the same experience? I would love nothing more than to have someone else corroborate the feelings and experiences I have when working out on location. Of course, I am following up on what people have reported in way of anomalous activity, but to hear of another coming to the site only to feel exactly what I felt would be incredible. Using our bodies as guides, we can at least detect the most subtle changes in energy. Now, naming them is another story entirely. So, oddly enough, I've been here standing for about 5 or so minutes, and I already feel like I should be moving along. I almost feel like I'm being pushed away. I, for whatever reason, want to touch this monument. I want to put my hand on it and feel it, but I keep having this adverse reaction in my stomach saying, don't do that. And I don't know why. Can't get an answer, but there is some sort of imminent danger perhaps in doing this. And of course my own experiences. With that, I'm not going to test the waters because I know how rough they can get. As tempted as I am to reach out to spirit and connect on some conscious level, my experiences have taught me a very different outcome than what I would desire. I'll continue to be a passive observer, documenting these areas of interest and presenting any evidence as it comes forward. Thank you all for joining us here at Third Phase UFO Report.
I want to thank Dark Hour Paranormal for chiming in and his research, boots on the ground reporting. You know, this is what we want. The panel members are rocking it, and Dark Hour Paranormal, Michael Roser is one of them. And make sure you subscribe. Check his channel out. It's awesome, and he's putting up content, interviews. He's doing the right thing in this field. I urge you, again, check out Dark Hour Paranormal. And one last thing, guys, I want to tell you, as I always say, keep your eyes on the skies, have that camera ready, and if you captured anything amazing, upload your YouTube video to YouTube, copy paste it to my email. It's in the link below. Thanks everybody for joining us in this live premiere. Blake Cousins, we'll see you next time.